Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's lovely to be with you this afternoon. And I was hosting the Zoom session for Will in October. So it's a real honor, and I'm thrilled to be asked to present again. So just like to say a few words to introduce Will. And that most of you probably know Will. I've practiced with him before or read one of his wonderful books about the posture meditation and other books. But for anybody that hasn't worked with Will before, you're really in for a treat, because Will's just a wonderful, wonderful teacher. And he's got 50 years, 5 decades of practice, of real diligent, real heartfelt practice in meditation, and a real diligent student of the Buddha Dharma and other spiritual disciplines. And in combination with that, he has this real deep understanding of the body through his work as a Rolfer, the structural integration work as a Rolfer. So there's this real fusion of Eastern and Western wisdom and understanding of the body, mind. And I first came across Will in probably about 15 years ago when I was training to be a mindfulness teacher and I was working as a nurse. And his book, Aligned, Relax and Resilient, really spoke to me. So when I was 50, for my 50th birthday treat, I went over to New England to a 7-day retreat, and it was just transformational. I was really struggling with my sitting practice. There was a lot of tension in my body, quite a lot of resistance to feeling, a bit of fear about feeling certain feelings. And the posture of meditation and the teachings that I received from Will in that retreat just changed everything. And since then, my practice has come on in leaps and bounds. So we're all in for a real treat today. And the title is From Mindfulness to Bodyfullness. And this wonderful experience of feeling full of awareness that we can receive from these wonderful practices that Will teaches us. And this fullness isn't a heaviness, it's a full of light, feeling of lightness. And it's our birthright and states that we can access through really practicing this hollow bamboo Dharma. So thank you so much, Will, for everything that you offer. Hand you over to Will.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for all the kind words. Just hearing you speak, first thing that came up, it's true, I've been doing this, playing with these practices, exploring them. And I do believe these practices are a path of discovery. We can have certain signposts on the path pointed out to us, but we just have to dive in and figure out how it affects our body and mind. So it really has been a long journey. When you said 50 years, that kind of hit home. I'm getting on in years. And it continues. Some people ask, well, is there ever an end to this? And I don't think there is. My sense is that our goal is to align ourselves with the experience, the palpable, feelingful, and also visual and auditory experience of the present moment, which is really what mindfulness is all about. And when we do that, we hook into a kind of current, I call it the current of the life force, that just percolates through what we conventionally call time. So that the goal for me, if there is one, I would see less as attaining some kind of ultimate condition, and it's just simply getting on. It's like riding a horse. You get on the horse. In this case, the horse is this awakened current of the life force that is constantly moving, or it could be constantly moving through the conduit of the body if we relax enough to allow it. But letting it pass through, and we just ride it. And through that we stay very much centered and enmeshed in present moment. What we call present moment is really the beauty of the whole mindfulness practices that are really one of the real good news stories, the proliferation of mindfulness across the planet in the last 10, 15, 20, however many years. It's entered schools, it's entered corporate boardrooms, hospitals. It's been emphasized more in specifically spiritually oriented retreat centers, as well as just secular mindfulness. It's really quite a wonderful, wonderful practice, and is certainly foundational. For me, I think of it as completely foundational to this next opening or awakening that we'll be talking about as body fullness. We need this foundation of mindfulness, first of all, okay? Because then it's going to be a natural opening into what I believe is our next assignment, if you want to call it that. I'm remembering, what's coming through it, and I'm remembering a story about Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist teacher who spent most of his life in the West. When he first came to the West, he was asked, well, what's it like here? And his response was, lost in thought. What is Western culture? What predominates? It's a culture that's lost in thought. Lost in thought. So we all are familiar with the consciousness of being lost in thought. Now, what's interesting, when we're lost in thought, we're often not even aware that we're lost in thought. Because something happens, I sometimes think of it as like a cat burglar, that somehow sneaks in the night and steals away your awareness without our even knowing it. But somehow, we're off on these thoughts. And woo, we wake up to them. Some of us who are starting to examine this relationship between being lost in thought and its antidote. We wake up, we realize we're lost in thought. It's like we've been gone. We're not here, we're not present. We're somewhere else, literally lost in these thought bubbles that go on. And the thought bubbles, really, when we pay attention to what's being spoken, to the language that's coming through. Mostly it's about reliving, rehashing things that have happened in the past, or dress rehearsals for things that are about to happen either imminently or at some point down the road in the future. And rarely ever are we present. Being lost in thought keeps us from being present. Well, certainly present in body and consciousness, body and mind. So the mindfulness practices, for me, the mindfulness practices are best explored in my informal life. When I sit down in this upright sitting posture, and we'll be getting into this in a while, this expansion into bodyfullness. For me, when I sit down, I really have to bring the awakening of the body. That becomes primary, first and foremost, in my experience, my screen of awareness. But for me, the mindfulness is so beautiful for what I call informal practice, which it really is the rest of our lives. In some ways, certainly in terms of hours spent, more important. And what I attempt to do, well, it's the practice. You just keep practicing. You walk on the tightrope, you fall off. You get back on, you walk up, fall off the other side. And that's what mindfulness practice is all about. In this very moment, there's a visual field here to be seen. I may like it, I may not like it. There's parts of it I may prefer, but really it's just this whole visual field exactly as it is. And mindfulness, to some degree, helps us create a mind like a mirror. So I just let the visual field as it is just come to me. Just come to me exactly as it is, the whole field. So it's not just focused on anything in the center, it's way off to the right and left sides. And I just see, let myself see. Okay. Oh, what are the sounds that are here? So much sound going on. Subtle, subtle sounds, sounds from inside your body, sounds from outside your body. If you're in a city, there's probably traffic, there's other people shuffling around, all the sounds. And once again, with mindfulness, we don't have to say, I like that sound, I'm going to block out that sound. We really find that blocking anything out, be it a sound, be it an aspect of the visual field, we have to create tension to force it away. And what we're going to find in just a few minutes here, it is the creation of the tension that locks us into this single-minded perspective that we come to practices like sitting meditation to help heal ourselves. Okay? So it's opening to the whole of the visual field. Yeah, everybody right now, you just see it. It's almost like you let it come right to you. You don't have to reach out and grab it. There's the visual field. Okay. There's the sounds. Visual field is pretty much in front. The sounds come in here. It's kind of like the horizontal stabilizing bar that a tightrope walker uses. That's what sounds do. Because the third major field of mindfulness then is the feeling presence of the body. The feeling presence of the body. We just let that feeling presence be here. Now, walking through the world, I tend to stay living within the world of form. I pretty much let this explosive, altogether natural opening and expansion we're going to be talking about shortly as an entrance into what I call the great wide open. I let that go. The world of great emptiness and extraordinary expansion, I let that go. I'm right here in the world of form. Seeing, hearing, breathing, and I'll pay a lot of attention to what's actually going on. Are there thoughts in my mind? Are there not thoughts? But this to me, again, is the creation of this extraordinary foundation. I have many, many friends, people that I've met, that practicing mindfulness is really pretty much, anything, everything that they would like to explore. They don't really feel the need for any further expansion or any further practice. I'm absolutely fine with that. Everybody needs to find their own dharma and find what level of opening and awakening is appropriate to you at this point. For many people, the magic of mindfulness is all that they need to help them become far more functional, far more awake as we move through this world of form. But the Heart Sutra tells us it's not just a world of form. There's also this underlying dimension, strange dimension. The Heart Sutra, most of the translation is as emptiness, as vast, open something or other, right? And there are those of us for whom the practice of mindfulness itself, as wonderful as it is, still is not enough. And why is it not enough? Because what starts happening, and the mindfulness actually instigates this. Many people have written to me saying, oh, the mindfulness practices were so extraordinary. And then all of a sudden I just started becoming aware of all this bodily anxiety and pain and tension. The foundation of mindfulness will sometimes evolve into then, becoming aware of there's a whole edifice of body fullness that also wants to wake up. It's not just me becoming more awake in the present moment, not getting so lost in the thought bubbles. Okay? That's certainly the initial dimension of waking up. How do we do that? Okay, stay tuned into what's happening right now, what you can see right now, what you can hear right now. And then very much so, staying aware of the breath. Breath is such an extraordinary, wonderful, helpful tool to two things. To bring us back into the present moment, because breath can only occur right now. Thoughts can be way off, past, future, wherever. Breath is only real right now. So focusing back in on the breath, that to me is the way in for mindfulness practitioners. To start realizing that there's a whole awakening that also has to happen throughout the physical body. Become aware of our breath. Breathe in, breathe out. That's all there is to it. And then there's the visual field. All the sounds. And often with just that much, the grip, the fixity, the hold, and it is actual tensional grabbing. Really, it's through the whole body, but it's very much through the cranium. That holding that is imperative to maintain the fixity, the exclusive fixity of the egoic perspective, right? That's me living in the world of form, completely oblivious to this other dimension of great wide open emptiness that is also available to me as an experience as human being. That fixity can start coming undone a little bit. And usually this is the transition from mindfulness practices into realizing, oh, how wonderful these are. And now I'm starting to become aware of something else that's up, something else that I need to tend to. Because the more we become aware of our breath, breath by breath, and as I say, I do my best. I'm probably as good or as poor at this as anybody. Getting up from my meditation cushion, then just start moving around through my day. I'm sitting at the computer, very easy to go off in thought in the computer, lose awareness of breath, but I do my best. There's the breath again. To just keep bringing it back 24/7. You know, I'm not awake in my sleep. Some people are. But always bringing it back, always bringing it back. And this, as I say, is the magic of this practice that I find more powerful off the cushion. Because I'm driving in my car, I'm walking into a store, and all of a sudden I realize, well, this is what the mindfulness reflex does. It helps me realize, lost in thought again. Okay, just be lost in thought. But then immediately what lost in thought does for me now, it puts me in touch with the feeling presence, the actual physical experience of what being lost in thought is, which mostly we're not aware of because we're too lost in thought to feel anything. And mostly what lost in thought does, it just brings tension, a blanket of numbness over the body. And what it also does, it just cuts breath off. It makes breath very, very tiny, very, very small. When we're lost in thought, we're often very, very held in the body. And so there's very, very little breath that's happening. So again, the magic of mindfulness starts revealing to us, truly for me, early on, it was many decades ago, as Jan alluded to. I began to realize that I was holding so still that there wasn't very much breath that was coming through. So my awareness, my focus on the process of breath helped me become aware of not only am I not breathing very much, but it revealed why I wasn't. And why I wasn't was that I was just tensing down, holding, still, kind of frozen. And that was keeping me locked within, lost in thought, the exclusive fixity of the egoic perspective. And the more I became aware of it in my body, the more I realized it didn't feel very good. Around those times, I was getting really deeply influenced by the 11th century or 12th century, I should know this, I don't. Mahamudra teacher Tilopa, Indian born, went up to Tibet. And it was just so simple, this one phrase of his, do nothing but relax, do nothing but the body but relax. And that was a huge kind of awakening for me, realizing, oh, this meditation could be about doing nothing, but relaxing. And here I'm working so hard, striving so hard to stay present, to keep bringing everything back. Just relax and let go. And to the degree that that started occurring, I felt something expanding out of this foundation of vision, sound, breath, presence right now. That all the mindfulness practices were, well, they'd instilled, and now they were leading me into a different awareness, a different awareness. And I came to understand that this all too common condition of being lost in thought is accompanied by something that we do. It's a kind of an unconscious tensing or holding within and throughout the experience of the whole body, and very much up in the cranium. Okay? That I have to do that or unconsciously allow that to happen to maintain the consciousness that at its extreme is lost in thought. When I'm not lost in thought, still within that consciousness, I'm pretty much stuck within what I call the fixity of the egoic perspective, which is me as this entity, in this case named will, pour it into this body like milk into a garden, right? Everything inside the garden is exclusively me, and everything outside is something else. And that, of course, is the world of form. In the world of form, no two objects can occupy the same location in space. It's just that simple, right? And we create these senses of who I am within this consciousness of what the Sufi mystic Rumi called separation. And I, the egoic I, is a function. It's a demarcation of separation. I means this as opposed to everything else. As we move from mindfulness into what might be called the awakening of body fullness, well, a number of things happen. First of all, now let's start at the beginning. First of all, the awakening into body fullness begins through the mindfulness practices when I realize, yeah, I'm very, very aware of what's going on right now in this present moment. Okay? Very, very aware. And I'm also starting to become aware of awakenings and sensations in my body. Even though formerly I had to shut it down to be the egoic mind, to get lost in thought. Oh, well, that's starting to loosen a little bit. And suddenly there's awakenings that occur. You know, I always start with people having them just put a hand out in front of yourself and put your awareness right into that hand. And at first, maybe from this perspective of the mind, you can say, oh, it feels heavy, or I feel air. But as you keep relaxing your hand, and as you keep relaxing your awareness into your hand, what you start realizing is that, oh my goodness, it's extraordinarily alive and awake with minute little tactile blips of sensation, of what I call the shimmer. Okay, and then you start realizing, oh, it's not just in the hand. There are sensations, one variety or another, throughout the entire body. And here starts the transition from mindfulness into what might be called a more embodied mindfulness, or which I call bodyfullness. We start also taking Tilopa to heart and realizing in addition to being really impeccably aware of what I can see, what I can hear. There's my breath. There's all this world of tactile shimmer. Oh, sometimes the shimmer is like soft falling rain. Sometimes we really give ourselves permission, as we do in the practices. You know, moving through the body And we come across areas, well, I never knew that was there, a pocket of compressed tension, of pain. And this is the awakening. We need to give ourselves permission to feel reality as it is. Okay, not just to see reality as it is, but to actually feel what the experience of being human actually feels like. And so we have to then start broadening our scope of awareness to include all of the physical sensations, inviting them back to felt life. We've created a quality of consciousness that has sent the feeling presence of the body into exile. Yeah. Inconvenient. Please, don't disturb my thoughts up in my mind. This is what I refer to as a somatophobic bias of our culture. This extraordinary awakening of palpable, felt, energetic shimmer throughout the entire body, which, in my experience, then becomes the doorway into these great wide open dimensions. Okay? We have to start giving ourselves permission to reawaken that. And how do we reawaken it? In the same way, we just put our hand out, put our awareness there, and oh, it's like stars coming out at night. All of a sudden, there it is. There's the vibration, there's the shimmer. Or in some places, there's the pressure, there's the ache, there's the pain. So in our mindfulness, we become more aware of body, and then it only becomes natural to start relaxing what we become aware of and actually exploring. It's like going on an archaeological dig. Ah, it's been unconscious to me for so long as I've been so lost in thought and identified with this egoic slant on consciousness. There's nothing wrong with that. Please don't misunderstand. We have to get good at that. Okay? But then, what if I start experiencing that just to stay stuck there causes pain, causes great discomfort. When that starts occurring, it's only natural that we want to start letting go, letting go, letting go. Just take a moment, just maybe eyes open, see, hear, just feel and just let go. Let's all just take a moment here. Now the shift from mindfulness into bodyfullness begins with our consciously inviting sensations to come back to felt life. In other words, to shift our focus of awareness from being lost in these thoughts to being present throughout the sensational, literally sensational field, the shimmer, the tactile presence of the body. Okay? As is done, beautifully done, some of the body-oriented forms of Burmese Vipassana, some of the body scans that have made their way into our hospitals. Sometimes it's simple just to start at the top of your head. You don't have to do anything. Didn't do anything when you put your hand out. You just put your awareness there, not striving to create it. Just inviting whatever the feeling there is to come back to felt awareness. It may surprise us when we first start doing this, what it feels like. It's shimmery, it's diaphanous, it's spacious, or it's throbbing. And we just pass our awareness through cranium. We're doing this obviously very rapidly, the neck, the throat, the shoulders, down through the arms, the hands right on the fingers. The upper torso. front of the rib cage, sides, the back, right through the front to the back, down into lower torso, down to the pelvis. It's just, even for me, I say these words, not that I do this in my practice, but even right now I say these words, pelvis. It's like extending the invitation. You call out to the exiled sensations of pelvis. Pelvis, it's okay. We welcome you back. Your exile is over. Come on back in. From your exile in the land of the unfelt, going down through the legs, same thing. So, now, I hasten to add a piece to this somewhat objective, if that even exists as a possibility, because as soon as we turn our attention to something, it starts changing it. You know, our 20th century physics tells us that, which is very fascinating. Somehow, the myth of separation goes out the window with that understanding that as soon as you put your attention somewhere, you start interacting with it, okay, and affecting it. As soon as a sensation takes me up on the invitation to appear, I want to honor it by greeting it with a gesture of letting go, of relaxing. So for me, it's, for example, let's just go right up into the top of our heads, the whole scalp area. We let the sensations emerge. Then as soon as they emerge, if they come in a form that has any kind of tensing on it, we just let go. And you just relax and remain aware. And we don't throw the foundations of mindfulness out the window once we start expanding into this other dimension of the bodyfullness, right? But we just let things happen. We let the relaxation occur right through the whole of the cranium. Writing sensations in the shoulder, just relax. The arms, just relax. All through the torso. Just relax the whole thing. Relax the tension. We become aware. The first thing we become aware of is how we've been holding ourselves very still, very frozen, because we have had to be able to manifest this quality of mind that is both lost in thought and just lodged within what I call the exclusivity of the egoic perspective, me and everyone else. And again, that's part of who we are. But that part of us wants to believe that's all of who we are. And there's great suffering that comes from that actual physical pain that we can start tapping into as we continue to work with these practices of inviting and relaxing, inviting and relaxing. So to me, being mindful is simply being aware. So I become aware, let myself become aware of what the feeling present in every part of the body. Don't expect it to be the same wherever you move. There are so many subtle nuances and differentiations and colorings and shadings to sensation and to breath. I just let myself experience them, offer the invitation, and then as soon as they start coming out, I honor their emergence with a gesture of relaxation, letting go. Wherever sensations emerge, And I start feeling a holding, a grabbing, a tension, embrace. Let go. Relax. Softening and relaxing now. This next stage, the shifting from mindfulness practices into a more embodied mindfulness practice, into this whole great explosive opening that I call bodyfullness. It's very natural. It's one thing just leads to the next. I become aware of, oh, there's sensations I'm holding. I start letting go. Oh, I'm realizing there's an awakening. I've been so asleep. Oh, these sensations exist on every part of my body, down to the smallest cell. Why haven't I been feeling them? Now, these are the natural questions that we ask ourselves once this awakening starts occurring. Oh, oftentimes that we get an answer to that question very quickly because, there are places in my body that don't feel so good, that are holding, that are grabbing, that are tense. Okay. Well, this is the practice. Why are they holding, grabbing, tense? Why are they bracing? Because we're not playing. We're not allowing the body just to kind of be present in a very natural, fluid, organic way within the field of gravity. One of the centerpieces, if you want to call it that, of my teaching that I do is sitting practices. And for awakening the body, I do this much better in formal practice, just as with the mindfulness practices, I do that better in informal, just moving through life. But when I sit down in this mudra of transformation, which is what the sitting posture is, then I can start feeling so much more. The sensations come to life. And one of the first things I realize is, some of these tensions are there because I'm fighting something. I'm not just allowing the body to be free, to be easy. There is a near magical coordinate that we can call the line. It doesn't correspond to any physical part of the body, but it's just simply the upright vertical axis. And what's interesting about the upright vertical axis is that structures that can align themselves around this upright vertical axis are able, in a sense, to alter the effect of what gravity has on us. If think of the tallest sequoia trees, skyscrapers, Gothic spires, a child's building blocks. Every little kid knows. You place it right on top of each other. It stays there. Oops, it starts going all over the place. It crumbles. Or in the case of a human body, it doesn't crumble, but we have to exert muscular tension not to. And this is a lot of what then comes up. We start becoming aware of these tensions, many of which are a simple function of the fact that, I've not been allowing my body to play with this dance of upright balance, organizing itself very fluidly around this mystical coordinate, the line, okay? Because if I do start letting go around the line, I can let go in ways that I just can't if I'm all hunched up like this, okay? So it's literally like playing with balance. It's almost like a very subtle dance of balancing that goes on. So that is one of the keys of the shift, how mindfulness naturally expands into the realm of bodyfullness and where bodyfullness is going to lead us to. Mindfulness leads us to awareness, much calmer, much clearer. Bodyfullness, as we're going to experience or touch on here, leads us into this dimension that I call the great wide open, okay? Which for me is an ultimate birthright state. So playing with the upright in my sitting posture, I can let go in a way that I just can't. If I'm sitting in a way that's, the head's dropped or falling behind myself, it's really just playing with the spine. This, of course, is what we get into. And, quite a bit of exploration and detail in the sitting Hala Bamboo Dharma, practices. So it's really bringing much more of a body-oriented focus. Okay, I'm going to awaken the body. Well, if I awaken my body, I'm going to really have to feel what I'm doing. Oh, and just by bringing this notion of the upright, how tall can I be? Oh, but staying as relaxed as I can be. Start shifting everything, okay? The alignment, the quality of the deep relaxation. And then the third, absolutely critical piece in this expansion from the foundation of mindfulness into this greater dimension of bodyfullness. And this is, as I often say, this is the most radical piece that I personally bring to the Dharma conversation. It's my insistence that if bodies are to keep relaxing, if relaxation is to continue over time, moment to what we call moment to moment, then as I breathe in, as I breathe out, all of this ties back into the breath that we started off with, just observing, becoming a little bit aware of when we began our mindfulness practice. What we realize right now is that if breath is to continue over time, as I breathe in, as I breathe out, the force of breath has to cause subtle, constant, amoeba-like transmitted motions throughout the entire body, every joint in the body, with every breath that we take right up through the top of the head, right down through the bottom of the feet. And the image that I often think of when I first talk about this is how the force that causes a wave to appear. And breath wants to move through the physical body that is also something about 70% water, not unlike how a wave can move right through a body of water. In terms of our body, we have sensations. In terms of the ocean, we have water. The water of the ocean is completely malleable. And in a sense, we want to relax ourselves so deeply that sensations in the tissues of the body become equally malleable, equally responsive. The breath strikes the expansion in the diaphragm. And it's like a rippling effect. It causes motion as it makes its way. If we get to a place where there's no more motion, if I'm holding my shoulders totally still, I'm just so inhibiting the breath that can occur. And breath can then, it just becomes very, very small. And why is this important? Because if we go back to the Satipatthana Sutta, which is one of my primary texts, one of the earliest written expressions of meditational instructions. And the words are, most scholars have said that the words can be attributed to the historical Buddha himself. He talks about meditation. First of all, interestingly, he says, when you sit down, make sure the spine is erect and upright. He certainly understood this magic, the magic of this coordinate, okay, that allows something to occur. Then, the first stage of paying attention to breath, you start becoming aware of it. When we're lost in thought, we have no awareness of breath. It's just there, sort of. But when we turn our attention to it, we start bringing breath to awareness. We're wanting bring breath to bring breath. And what breath brings with it to awareness, as it comes to awareness, is the whole felt shimmer of the body. So we start just by becoming aware, and this even observe it right out at the front of the body. In most Buddhist schools, that is interpreted as just watching the breath like a watchman as it enters and exits the nostrils, or in some other schools, just being aware of the subtle rising and falling. There's some movement even in the stillest, most frozen of bodies, some motion rising and falling in the belly, right at the front of the belly wall. And there we start. That's where mindfulness begins. Now, the Buddha spoke in a kind of shorthand, so his instructions are quite pithy. The next level of instruction is then you become more sophisticated in your awareness. As I said, sensations and breath, every single one is a little different shading, a little differentiating quality, a different color, nuance. So, and then we have to take a literal step backwards into the mystery space of the body, because that's where breath happens, okay? We start feeling the breath coming through the nose and the mouth, coming down, filling the lungs, coming back out. Most Buddhist schools, in their approach to breath, begin and frankly end with that first instruction. Just become aware, because it develops high concentration of mind. Become aware, focus on how the breath just passes in and out of the nostrils, or how there's this subtle expansion outward in front of you, in your belly on the inhalation, how it moves back on the exhalation. Many Buddhist schools begin and end with that instruction, but that is not where the instructions end. The next phase of that is naturally what's going to start happening. It's not like do this and now do this. It naturally occurs. We start paying attention to our breath, becoming aware of it. The next thing we know, oh yeah, I kind of feel it. Breath comes in the body, it leaves the body. And then in an altogether remarkable statement, the culminating instructions on breath that I have been fascinated with many of those last 50 years. Jan said I've been playing with that. And that came into my life earlier. He said, what could this possibly mean? The Buddha says, as you breathe in through the whole body. As you breathe out through the whole body. No longer just focusing in on any one part of the body, but realizing that somehow breath and body are deeply interconnected, interrelated, kind of two sides of the same coin. And as I said, if you could align the body, play with it, I'm going to qualify that. It's not like we find alignment like a fence post. It isn't like that. We're just playing around this line, like a dance, around this line. We play with alignment. We start relaxing. The sensations emerge, and as soon as they emerge, just let them relax. Okay. We realize that for relaxation to continue over time, we have to start opening to what the Buddha is suggesting as his culminating instructions on breath. As I breathe in, just like the wave moving through the body of water, motion occurs everywhere in the body. Like an amoeba expanding on the inhalation, contracting on the exhalation. Now, to the degree that we do this, we start moving our awareness right into and through those places of holding intention. A lot of people tell me, Will, what I don't like about this body-oriented focus, I just feel so much that I don't want to feel. And my response is, yes, painful sensation is painful. I don't glorify it. But when you awaken body as it is, the path of where you need to move next, what you need to feel into and relax through is infallible. It's right there. No teacher can say, oh, there's something you're holding in your right shoulder. You better experience there. No, you let the sensations come. I feel the tension. Okay, I relax, and I also realize that nothing's moving there. Wherever you have chronic pain in your body, try this out for yourself. Wherever you have the most pain in your body, put your awareness there. Become aware of it. And realize that as you breathe, there's hardly anything moving there in that part of the body. The vertebrae of the spine, individual bones. It's not a Roman column. As you breathe in, as you breathe out. There can be motion through the entire spine. Anyway, this is, for me, the progression. I don't, in a sense, differentiate mindfulness from bodyfullness. Okay, for me, mindfulness is the foundation that naturally develops us, or develops our awareness to realize, oh, now I have to awaken the whole of the body. That's what I become mindfully aware of. That is the next task. Because, otherwise we become impeccably aware of what's going on right now, but still, oh, I'm aware of so much pain, so much pain, so much pain. Okay, I'm aware. It's not enough. We want to heal. And for me, the spiritual, if you want to use that word, wild, explosive expansion into what I call the great wide open, it's ultimate healing. It's ultimate healing of body, breath, and consciousness itself. So we start with becoming aware of breath. Just becoming aware. There's visual field. Oh, those are the sounds. Gee, I hadn't been hearing them. They're there now. Okay. Oh, then I become aware of holding and tension in my body. Okay. If I can start in my formal moments of practice, playing with this mystical coordinate. Just playing with upright balance. Oh, I'm able to let go, and suddenly I'm not bracing against gravity. It's starting to buoy me up. Okay. Sensations are arising, are coming. They're consciously, I'm passing my awareness through the body, or they're just coming on their own. As soon as they come, let go. Just let go. And then realizing, oh, for this quality of letting go to occur. And remember, right at the beginning of the hour, I said, for me, the goal of these practices is not to attain some kind of exotic enlightened condition and maintain it. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with awakening this current that is manifesting through what we call time, that we can only experience right now, and ride it. Just ride it from right now. Relaxing more, we ride it into right now. Relaxing more through the body, and we just keep riding this current. So aligning ourselves with this palpable experience of present moment that is constantly flowing, constantly changing. And what is helpful for me at times is then I will recognize that as soon as I've got back into lost in thought, or as soon as a thought is there, and thought creates me. Thought creates the exclusivity of the egoic perspective by inserting tension into places in my body and very much into my cranium. So aware in the last year or so how ultimately, it's the cranium we want to let go of. We'll talk about this in a second. I become so aware of how the thought comes in, creates me, because I am the speaker of all those thoughts. We all have the same name for ourselves, or we all have the same name for the speaker of our thoughts, and we identify with that. We think that's who I am. Well, it's an aspect of what this is, but it's small and it's compressed and it hurts over time. Okay? You just suddenly become aware that, oh, I've blocked, I've braced, it's like a lock in a canal. I put it up, and no longer is that wonderful, organic experience of current manifesting through time, the current of the life force manifesting through time. And letting this current manifest is extraordinarily healing in itself. The body-oriented Burmese Vipassana teacher, Ubakin, would talk about activating the shimmer, activating anicca. And then he would say that liberates a force. He would call it nibbana dhatu, a force that will just clean you out and, in a sense, dissolve away whatever is keeping us stuck in these places, that is bracing ourselves against this natural letting go into these deeper dimensions of embodied being that in our heart of hearts, we know that, yeah, this is something that I want for myself. It's peculiar because I really don't want it, because I wants to brace it, go back into thoughts, and we stop it. We just keep surrendering as best we can, as best we can. And as soon as the thought, the I comes in, I will often go into my mind and my cranium, find out where it's manifesting, and just relax it, let it go. And the mind just shuts off, and this current keeps currenting. Okay. Some people are more drawn to examining what we conventionally call mind. And that's where, frankly, the majority of us who've been drawn to Buddhist practices, Dharma practices, in a sense, that's our motivation. Others of us are more drawn to bodily awakening, immediately bodily awakening. It doesn't matter to me. We have, we're all different. Remember, our work is not to do it this way or do it that way. Okay? Our work is to discover what's so for us, especially if you've been doing a lot of concentration exercise. Okay, if you're doing a lot of concentration practices, really focusing in, and especially at the nostrils, okay? The awakening through the body, what you may want to be focusing on, just put your awareness in your cranium. Put your awareness right up into your head. Let the sensations come, and just keep relaxing them. Yeah, just do that for a moment. Eyes open or closed. What happens for me, as soon as I become aware of a thought form that starts appearing again, I realize immediately it's being accompanied by a going on either side of the cranium. So as you focus on breath, maybe focus on the whole of your head. Those of you who really come out of a concentrating on the nostrils, form of practice, so very, very, very common and really wonderful for creating concentrated states of mind. Just feel the whole of my head. Wherever there's tension, just let it go. The more I let go, the more this somewhat and quite a bit emptier flow. And you feel it. You feel it just passing through from one moment of awareness to the next. For those of us who become then more deeply involved in the body awakening practices, because often what happens, that you start here. If you start here, it's gradually you're going to realize, oh, I let go here, so there's no thought. Oh, there's something right here that also has to let go. Just let go. And we end up letting go through the whole body. The other way around, you start right with the body. Many people that I'm working with are particularly drawn to paying attention to the diaphragm, because if the diaphragm is stuck, there isn't going to be much breath. Oh, there's an explosive opening that can happen through the diaphragm with every inhalation you take. I sometimes liken that to this, how manta rays swim through the water. We just swim, just open. doing that opens right through the body and eventually goes right up into the top of the head. Where then, yes, I have to let go, relax through the upper part of the body as well. Okay, so either way in, I've been working with a number of people who are very, very committed to a concentration exercise, focusing on the breath. And it's wonderful. Do that, and then you start. I just get them to start broadening the awareness through the whole of the cranium, and then just stop. Letting go. Letting go wherever you feel tension, because there will be tension in the cranium to the degree that there is one of these parades of unbidden and random thought going on. Just letting go, letting go, letting go. With many other people, we work, and certainly, this is where I lead into in the Hala Bamboo Dharma. The Hala Bamboo Dharma for me is a sitting practice. The mindfulness and the letting go primarily through the head, that to me, actually, I'm not sure if I said that right. The Hala Bamboo Dharma is a bodyfullness practice. Okay? That's what happens when I sit. When I move off into life, it's being mindfully aware of vision, sound, breath, and letting go specifically through the cranium. Okay? So here we merge all of this. The training that I'm about to embark on is going to be a year-long training. We'll be meeting by Zoom twice a month. I'll be having private interviews with participants once a month. There'll be a 7-day intensive retreat. We'll be doing strong breathing practices as well. I want to extend this through an entire year because I'm very interested in working with people closely and personally. Okay, so with that practice, I invite anybody who's drawn to what we're doing to consider joining our year-long Sangha. Yes, we'll be doing both the mindfulness practices of being off the cushion and the bodyfullness practices that were on the cushion. Much of the focus will be in establishing these principles that are really going to allow us to open, to awaken. What I call the great wide open, it's our birthright dimension. And if we stay closed or encapsulated, we eventually start realizing that it's too confining. It hurts. So I'm going to turn this back over to Jan. Thank you all for being here with me today. I do enjoy sharing this with people. I invite people to come join us in what we're up to here. So thank you. Jan, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Will. That was absolutely wonderful. Just really brought me back to all of the times we've practiced together, and that manta ray image is really embedded deeply in me now. Whenever I bring my awareness to the diaphragm, that's just absolutely beautiful. I just feel so grateful to have come across Will's teachings, and I felt really drawn to work with Will deeply, and I went over to Costa Rica and did a private retreat. I think I was the first person to stay at the little retreat casino last year, and it's absolutely wonderful working one-to-one with Will and having support from Will and his lovely wife Coco. And if anybody feels drawn to work with Will more intimately, I think this retreat, this year-long, would be just a wonderful opportunity. So I would really encourage you to just check in, have a look on the website, embodiment.net, and just have a look at all that is to offer from this year-long intensive. I think there's 15 places. I'm not sure how many there's left, but it's going to be an intimate group of people practicing, sharing the practice together over 12 months, 2 weekends a month. 3 hours, 2 Saturdays a month for 3 hours, monthly one-to-ones with Will to have that personalized coaching. And there's a week-long retreat in July, and also a 30-day hollow bamboo breathing challenge as well after the retreat. So it's just so much opportunity to deepen and deepen and deepen into awareness and to wake up. And this is such a time that we need to wake up collectively in this world at the moment. So thank you all for being here. And at this time of goodwill, I just want to wish you all very, very well, and sending you much love at this really difficult time for us all in the world. And it's just been wonderful to connect. Thank you so much, Will. Thank you, everybody, for attending.